How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back into the video. We got another first thoughts today. This first thoughts is on Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. So before I get into this, remember, we got the Kickstarter going on. You want one of these cool playmats? Just got to buy it in the Kickstarter and helps channel a lot. We also got the Patreon link down below. And if you join the Patreon, you can join our Discord and stuff. It's a good time. Also, we got the TCG Play affiliate link down below. If you want to buy any of the cards to talk about in this video, buy them through that link. It helps channel. And we're going to hop into this. So, Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. So, there's a lot that you can do with this commander. It's basically just doubling season and reverse doubling season for your opponents. It's a very, very powerful card. And in the command zone, it's scary. There's also just like a lot of stuff you can do with it. A lot of different themes you can take this. So I'm going to be going through those. It's going to be kind of a more listy first thought just because there's so much that works with it. So I'm just going to go through some of the stuff and just list off some of the good synergies. And so first of all, I want to list off some one-of cards. Just cards that are just kind of one-offs that work really well in the deck. You got stuff like Coalition Relic. Doubling the counters on it just doubles the mana that it produces. Generous Patron, you put 2 counters on your opponent's creatures, so you get to draw 2 cards. Helix Pinnacle, you say you dump 10 mana into it, it's instead 20. It's an easy win con there. Hex Drinker becomes a really powerful creature after just a couple of activations. The Ozolith, because you can have a lot of counters, it works with basically any deck you build here, except for the first one I'm going to talk about. But a lot of the different synergies that you do, Ozolith works really well with. You also got Everflowing Chalice and Astral Cornucopia, just making you a ton of mana. And so yeah, Vorinclex is very similar to Doubling Season. Any deck that you build with Vorinclex, you're probably going to want Doubling Season in. Same thing with Pure Imaginative Rascal. They seem like they should all be included together. And so there's 4 different decks that I want to talk about that you can build with Vorinclex. I mean, there's plenty more than 4 that are doable. But there's 4 that I want to talk about. 2 of them, I think, are the most obvious ones. There's one that's one of my favorite decks I have. It's a fun little deck. It's a cool synergy, and Vorinclex is really good with it. And the last one is one that never really had a good commander for it. And it was, like, somewhat played, but not played very much. But I think now it can actually, like, do well inside Commander. So the first one I want to talk about is Super Friends. So, Vorinclex doubles the number of counters on permanents. So, you play a Planeswalker, it enters with double the number of counters, which is terrifying. Like Garrett Caller the Beast, that's ultimate. Ugh, that's scary. So, like, I'm not going to go through all the possible Planeswalkers you can play. I'm just going to go through, like, all the possible cards, but I'll go through all the Planeswalker characters that would fit into this deck because they tend to be mono green. You got Freyalise. You got Arlen. You got most of the Garrix, along with most of the Nissas. You got Vivian. And you got the colorless ones being Karn and Ugin, which all those can fit into this deck. And that seems like a really fun way to take this deck. I do like this. There's actually multiple monocolored commanders for this set that I really like, and this is one of them. Also, if you're going that route, you're going to want to have Chain Veil. You're going to want Contagion Clasp and Contagion Engine and Karn's Bastion, but that works with pretty much all of these decks because Proliferate works with any type of counters. But the Chain Veil is pretty specific to Super Friends. Next, I want to talk about +1/+1 counters. I mean, there's tons of good +1/+1 counter commanders, and Vorinclex is one of them. You got Avenger Zendikar, making a lot of dudes, and then putting a ton of counters on all those things. Awakening the Vitu-Ghazi just is a 5 mana 18/18 at instant speed, which is insane. You got Bloodspore Thrinax just to make it so all your creatures enter with more counters. Crystalline Crawler, good mana like sink, basically good mana dork. Forgotten Ancient, good way to make a lot of counters. Hangerback Walker, you can make a ton of Thopters with that. Most Hydras, the typical Hydra has like X in its casting cost and enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. So this just doubles those. So Vorinclex would be a very good mono green Hydra commander. Specifically Colonian Hydra, because that doubles the number of counters whenever it attacks. You got Rishkar to put a couple counters on things and make some mana dorks. Sword of Truth and Justice, throw a counter, proliferate, seems very good. Great Henge, card draw plus counters all in one while being a mana dork or mana rock. That card is just phenomenal. This deck's going to end up having a lot of big creatures in it just because of the fact that you're doubling counters, so it's going to end up being a 2-mana Great Henge a lot of the time. And you can throw in like Branching Evolution and Hardened Scales just to really push those counters out. The next deck I want to talk about is Fungus. Spore counters. This is a very fun archetype, and it seems like a very powerful commander for this archetype. You got stuff like Fungal Bloom, which just lets you throw spore counters around, and then there's tons of Thalids that all do stuff like beginning of your upkeep, you get a spore counter on it. You can pay a spore counter to do whatever, and you can pay like 3 spore counters to make a Saproling. So some of these include Feral Thalid, Elvish Farmer, Psychotrope Thalid, Savage Thalid, Spore Sower Thalid, Sporoloth Ancient Thalid, just regular old Thalid, Thalid Devourer, Thalid Germinator, Thalid Shell Dweller, Thorn Thalid, Utopia Mycon, and Beta Spore Thalid. Also, you can throw in Spore Flower, which is a pretty cool card. So that's what I got for the Funguses. It's a fun deck. I have a Fungus deck. It's an Atraxa deck, which I love. And this seems like a good, I'm going to be putting Vorinclex in that deck. It seems like a good archetype to play around Vorinclex too. And the last archetype I want to talk about is Infect. Infect was never really playable in Commander until now, I think, because this makes it so instead of you need 10 counters, you basically just need 5 because you're doubling the counters. And before we actually before I go through actual Infect cards, I want to say you can throw in Triumph of the Hordes into almost any of these decks, except for the Infect one because you're already playing Infect Creatures. But Triumph of the Hordes becomes significantly stronger in the Thalid deck, in the Pulse and Counter deck. Super Friends deck maybe, just because, probably, because you are going to be making a lot of tokens and making a lot of lands creatures. It seems very good. But for Infect, there's a lot of Infect creatures, the best one being Blightsteel Colossus, of course. Then you got stuff like Blight Mamba, Blight Widow. You can use Carrion Call to make some tokens. You got Core Prowler, Corpse Cur, Cyst Bearer, Glistener Elf, Ichor Clawmire, Inkmoth Nexus, which is a land that turns into an Infect creature. You got Necropede, Phyrexian Digster, Phyrexian Hydra, Phyrexian Juggernaut, Phyrexian Swarmlord, Plague Meter, which is also Ramp. This is just a lot of just random Infect creatures, I'm sorry. Putrefax, Rot Wolf, Spinebiter, Tangle Angler, Telgelad, Fallen. It's Fallen. I wrote it poorly. Trisonic. I don't know what this one is. Oh, Trison of Infestation, Vector Asp, Viridian Betrayers, Viridian Corruptors. Sorry about the little mess ups there. I don't know those cards very well because I've never really played an Infect deck. I have a little modern Infect deck and that's about it. But yeah, so these are all cards that just become significantly stronger with Vorinclex. And you can also throw in like Grafted Exoskeletons, so that way you can give Vorinclex Infect, which sounds sweet. So there's a lot of ways to take this deck. Obviously, I think the easiest way to build this deck is going to be +1/+1 counters. There are so many good green +1/+1 counter cards. I didn't want to deal with trying to find them all because it's just such a huge archetype, and green is the biggest color for that archetype. So if you want to build a +1/+1 counter deck, it'll be easy. Very easy. I just named off some of the cooler cards I thought had cooler interactions. Also, Super Friends, I may end up building that deck because I didn't realize at first that it worked that way, and then I didn't think about it at first, really. And then I realized, wait a minute. It's basically doubling season Planeswalkers. Oh, there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with that. And that seems sweet. It seems really, really sweet. So yeah, that's what I got from Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video. Comment down below if you're building Vorinclex or if there's any cool interactions that I did not mention that you guys found. that you want other people to know about, so that way other people building this deck can learn from you too. What else do you gotta do? You gotta check out the Kickstarter if you want one of these cool playmats. Do it, please. We're trying to fund some cool series and trying to help out the boys that help me with these series. That way I can try to fund a little bit of their part of the series. That way they're not paying for everything that goes into the series. And yeah, we also got the Patreon. You can join us in the Discord. It's a fun time there. We play on Spell Table all the time. It's great. And you can help us through the TCG Player affiliate link, which is linked down below. If you buy any of the cards I talked about in this video, buy them through there. It helps the channel. We're also like 300 subscribers away from hitting 1,000. So let's do it. If we hit 1,000, I'm doing a giveaway. So give me to 1,000. Let's do this. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.